Welcome to World Religions. My name is Timothy McKenzie and I will be your instructor this semester. I would like to, throughout the semester, I'll put in some little videos, maybe I'll do some lectures, but at least I'll try to, at least every week, provide some sort of video that sort of gives you some feedback of how to proceed through the material. Basically, we'll start off this with the question of, what is it that, one of the first things that I want to start off and talk about is the fact that this course is what we call modular in nature. And what that basically means is that every section of this course is broken up into these things called modules, and they're basically like a unit or a chapter, and each one is 2 weeks in length, and the due date is always 8 p.m. on Mondays. The reason for 8 p.m. on Mondays is because my office hours are Mondays at 8 p.m. and so the 8 p.m. on Mondays works well for the fact that I'll be there in the hour before everything's due in case you have any last minute questions. But everything's due on Mondays at 8 p.m. so you can kind of consistently keep that in mind. You're welcome to do things early, and as a matter of fact, if that is going to confuse with your schedule, don't send me an email saying I have something going on that day. Instead, it's your responsibility to do it early. You have 2 weeks, and it will be open for the entire 2 weeks, and so you should work on it ahead of time. Now, one of the questions that oftentimes comes up that I get in an online course is, what do I need to do? I mean, they'll say, I've never taken an online course. What do I need to do? How can I be successful in this course? Well, essentially what you need to do to be successful in this course is about the same thing you need to do in all courses to be successful, and that is to work hard, to take initiative, etc. But this course is different. Any online course, for those of you who haven't taken one, is that the problem is that, whereas in the classroom, if you run into some confusion, you can simply raise your hand and ask a question. If you're a little nervous to ask a question, somebody else might. If you see something that you thought was due and it's not there, you could just raise, you can just ask the question, and I'm there to remind you. I'm there to, constantly be doing this. Well, because of that, you don't have that benefit. So you need to, first off, be willing to ask questions to me. You need to be willing to email me. If you email me, I will respond within 24 hours. 48 hours is sort of my cutoff of how long at most it will take me to respond. If you do not get a response to me within 48 hours, then send me another email saying, hey, I never got a response. A lot of times what happens is I'll read your email and think I responded, but in fact I hadn't. And that happens maybe, every couple weeks I'll have something like that happen. So don't be afraid to email me. Don't be afraid to email and ask me questions. And if you don't get a response, email me again. And there's also a possibility that the email just didn't go through. Those are all things to keep in mind. Now, so basically, be willing to contact me, be willing to keep in touch with me, and that would be the #1 thing to assure success. The other thing that you need to do to assure success is probably just make sure to set aside some time, at least a few times a week, to work on the course, maybe an hour or two at a time. You don't have to sit there and work on this course 12 hours, you don't have to sit there and work on it probably 12 hours a day or anything, but you probably do need to set aside some time. And when I say set aside some time, don't just say, well, I'll work on it when I work on it. If you wait until the last day every time, you're going to end up not learning as much, and you're going to be distracted, annoyed, difficulties will incur. And so my suggestion is work ahead and spend a little bit of time. Set aside an hour every day to work on this. So those are my suggestions. Now, as far as I said, this is modular in format, and every module will be fairly similar. You will be required to read the textbook, and you should read it very carefully. There will be an exam over the reading of the textbook, and so you need to be prepared for that. There will likely be a few videos and some other information that will also be covered, but I will provide a checklist at the top of each module so you know what to do. Now, as far as the exams will mostly be multiple choice, and Ideally, what I would like is I'm debating between a timed format and a format that will allow you to, save your work and go back, which would then allow you to sort of, look up the answers and find answers. And I'm debating which way I want to go on that, but I'm at least initially going to try the open format. Why? I say try is because in the past I've always done a timed format. I want to see how this other format works. We'll see if it works, if I like it or not, and I might switch back. Then there will be two basically graded components. The first component will be there will be a site called the Worldwide Religious News website. It's wwrn.org, and if you go to that, it gives basically news from around the world that is religious in nature, whether it be a priest being arrested or an imam having some legal or accounting trouble, whatever it is. It doesn't have to necessarily even be purely, it just relates to religious people and religious activities. Could be religious holidays, could be political issues that affect religion, etc. And so what happens is that is essentially where we start off with that religious, we'll have that religious news in there. And so you need to read through that, keep track, and then what you'll do is you'll find one article you found interesting or somehow thought, well, I'd like to talk about that some more. And you'll go through and you'll write up and you'll give a link to it. And you'll talk about why you found it interesting, what you learned, etc. And there's some prompts in the discussion board to help you with that, as well as on the syllabus. What I would do is you'll then post that as a discussion board entry with an entry about what you learned, what the article was about, etc. Then you'll read through your colleagues, your fellow classmates' entries, and you'll find ones you found interesting, and you'll go ahead and comment on those. And you need to comment on at least 2 of those. So that's part of every module. You do that once during the 2 weeks. The other thing is what we call a religious journal. It's essentially a Dropbox, and the Dropbox is there, and you basically every time you do a journal entry, you drop it into the Dropbox. You can drop 10 of those into one Dropbox, although all you're required to do is 6. You'll do 3 per week, so 6 per module. So you need to do, on different days, not on the same day. You enter a religious journal, and you will have that. That religious journal will be a. I'm trying to think of what I'm trying to say. That religious journal will basically be over the reading of the religious scriptures. There's another book called Philip Novak's book, World's Wisdom, and that book is basically just the scriptures of different religions. I want you to spend about 20 to 30 minutes reading the book, maybe about 10 pages, and then spend about another half hour reflecting on what you read. What did you find interesting? What did you learn? What could you apply to your life? What did you find ridiculous? Just basically your own reaction. You spend about an hour on that in total. So you do that 3 times per week. That's about 3 hours. And I'd prefer those not to be done all on the same day. Well, I'd not just prefer. I require them to be submitted on different days unless you have reason not to. And so that is the journal. And so each one of those you do, and then you drop into the Dropbox. And I will keep track of those as they go along. Now, with that said, the only other requirements for this course is there will be a final, which will basically be looking back and trying to distinguish which religion believes what. And there will be a term paper. And the term paper is 100 points. And basically there is a list of topics, and there will be a module that discusses the term paper. And what you'll need to do is basically watch that module. I'm sorry, go through that module and pick a topic by March 17th and email me. If you want to go with another topic, that's fine, but those are the topics that are pre-approved in there. There are some topics. You'll need to go to the library, find sources, read books, and write a term paper, and there's details on how to do that in there. There's actually, I will provide a little bit more probably in a couple weeks, not initially, but I will provide a little bit more detail on that depending upon what's in there. And those will be your requirements. The term paper module, this introductory module, and all that will be available all semester. and then the others will be put in each of the individual religion modules. Alright, if you have any questions, remember, don't be afraid to ask me. That's what I'm here for, and that's part of how you can be successful in this course.